right, y'all. Welcome everyone to a very special episode of Beats, Rhymes, y Comunidad, the show where community management meets the culture. As always, I'm your host, Jersey City Jeff. And guys, listen, I know what you're thinking. Jeff, you're back so soon. Season 1 just ended. What the hell are you doing here? But remember, I told you, I got surprises for you guys, all right? It just so happens that one of them came sooner than I thought. Guys, that being said, we have a very special episode for you today. You know, this show's all about culture. And today we have joining us a playwright, an author, and a director, an actress. I mean, this young lady is so multifaceted that we weren't able to capture all of the greatness in just this episode, but we have Elaine Del Valle joining us today. For those of you who aren't on game, Elaine Del Valle is the director of Brownsville Bred, which just made its premiere in the United States in select theaters across the country and is now debuting this week in Puerto Rico. That's right, as Brooklyn Boricua. All right. So really excited for this conversation. You want to talk about community. You want to talk about culture. Elaine is a perfect example of that. So before we get into the conversation, let's check out the trailer. Enjoy the show and look out because we got season 2 coming. We got more surprises coming. I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you, man. Enjoy the show.
Everybody has a story, and this one is mine. 301 Sutter Avenue, between Rockaway and Mother Gaston, Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York.
Your father here?
Don't talk to my daughter.
Oh,
Come on.
this song.
I'm Ela from up above and I'm from the bill. Got my titi by my side and she's acting chill.
Okay. Oh. Hey, Elaine. Laney's daughter? I've been keeping my eye on you.
He moved to Puerto Rico right after he got out of jail.
Do you know what the hell could happen to you out there?
I'm not the reason we live here. I didn't have to be born here.
Well, you don't have to worry about being here no more, because I'm sending you to Puerto Rico with your father for the rest of the summer.
I'm not going there.
Oh, you don't have a choice.
It's just a bunch of hicks in Puerto Rico. I can hardly understand them. Hola.
Elaine, I wrote this song for you. Excited that maybe we might start over?
Elaine, there's a lot that we need to explain to you.
I'm looking for a dude named Goshi. You know where he at?
You can't make good decisions if you don't have all the facts. Work's still here. If you're looking.
Some choices, Elaine, you can't come back from. Some choices you cannot undo.
I've been looking out my window all my life and feeling the wonder of all the other places I could be.
We don't get to choose our family.
If you want to spend the rest of your life stuck here, you're gonna have to do it by yourself.
You can learn from my mistakes or repeat them. Elaine!
I am Brownsville Bred.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Beats, Rhymes, y Comunidad, the show where community management meets the culture. I am your host, Jersey City Jeff, and we have a special episode for you today. I know what you guys must be thinking. We just wrapped on season 1, but remember, I told you that we have some surprises in store for you, and today is one of those. So today we have joining us a very, very talented filmmaker, playwright, director, Elaine Del Valle. Welcome to the show, young lady. How are you?
This is a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And as we're recording, you see me like trying to manage something here because I hear my husband in the background, and I'm like, "Be quiet."
This is the way of the world these days. I got my notes over here as well. I've got people in other rooms in the house, so you know how it is. But we do what we do. We're in the throes of Brownsville Bred being screened in theaters across the country. Very, very exciting time for the film. I've been immersed, unfortunately not in the film quite yet, but I just finished listening to the audiobook. So I'm going to go to a question that I ask many of the guests on this show. What is your first memory of feeling community, of feeling this sense of belonging? I recall this audition that you had as you were transitioning from middle school into high school. You spit one of your raps. They didn't seem like they were really feeling it. They were expecting a song. You pivot over to a song and the audition gets cut abruptly. And you talk a little bit about not having that sense of belonging, which struck me. So was there any moments before that audition or following that audition that you recall as being like your first feeling of community?
I have so many first feelings of community. I remember when I was a little kid and, when it was Christmas time, there weren't that many Puerto Ricans or Latinos for that matter in the projects where we lived in Langston Hughes.
Yes.
But on Christmas time, we would go around, Christmas or New Year's, we would go around and they would go knocking on doors and we would create a parade that would go to every Latino household, ábreme la puerta.
That's right.
So when just you saying that, I haven't thought about that in so many years, but that was a great feeling of community right there.
Yeah.
My Latinidad there was just, I felt so proud, and we were probably like a tenth of the community, or less than that. But the fact that we were so united in that moment, that was very special. And then, you talked about the audition. It's been a while since I've read the book or thought about the play because I've been so immersed in the movie for the last few years. But when I was a kid and actually in grade school, I had a teacher that had decided that he was going to make a play of us. And a lot of people don't know that, but when schools decide to make a play, a stage performance, they usually have to pay for the play and the rights and all this.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. I didn't really know that, but the teacher said, "But it's okay. We're just going to buy it once and make copies, and we're not going to tell anybody. Nobody's going to care."
I learned this lesson the hard way, right? Because my daughter just started college for theater studies, so she's been doing plays throughout her entire high school career. And she once did Into the Woods. And this is where I learned, because like a proud father, I was there capturing, like, I must have gotten almost 30 minutes of the play. And I'm posting on Instagram and the theater director's like, "Hey, cut it out, man," because and I'm like, "Oh, wow, there's two versions of the play that you can license." Like they have one that's for high school productions. They have one for other community centers and senior citizens homes, things like that. I was like, wow, okay. So this is how it works.
Yeah, and our school back then, PS 284, they couldn't afford anything like that. But anyway, they put on this play, and I auditioned for this play, and I got the lead in this play. And the teacher was determined that he would not move forward past each scene until everybody got all their lines right. So we were like stuck on scene 1 forever.
Yeah.
And then stuck on scene 2 forever because everybody, if somebody didn't get their line right, we had to go back to the beginning, and it was
That's
like,
right.
oh no, it's never going to happen.
Right.
But then when it came that it was a scene with just me and one other person, the other person had a couple of lines, and then the rest of it was on me. I delivered.
Yeah.
And it was like a song and the script, and everybody was so happy.
Yeah.
And I think that was the feeling when I just felt like, wow, what I do, my commitment can make a difference to my community at large.
100%.
And after that, like everything just fell into place, and we were all knowing our lines, and it just felt so good. And so, you make me recollect this moment, and it's a beautiful moment in my life, and perhaps another reason why I moved into the space of, creating art.
Absolutely. And there were so many indicators that this was your path, the path that you were meant to be on, right? From everything from your book of rhymes to even the application process, right? Like do an ad campaign for what it is you want to be when you grow up, and you're like thinking lawyers and stuff like that. So I think what I just heard was a combination of feeling that sense of belonging and also a sense of purpose, right? So I love that. And one thing that you just described, which I'm very curious about, is, it's been a while since you visited the writing of it, like the book and the play, and because you're very immersed in the film right now, talk a little bit about the transition between mediums and what that looks like from your perspective, because I feel like I feel like most of us have an understanding that things start as a book and then maybe get adapted into a play or a film, but this started as a play that got adapted to a book and now a film. So it's very much like Death of a Salesman in that sense. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
Right, so it started as a play, and basically I was just talking out loud. It was a one-woman play, so it wasn't like different people. It was just me, and it started out with 301 Sutter Avenue between Rockaway and Mother Gaston, saying the place, because what I knew about writing and creating story was really like, let's set the place.
Right.
Feel the character, and then deal with her transitions and what changes her in the world and the way that she sees the world. So thinking about, my milestones, what shaped me, all together, that is how I created the play, and that is what leaned into what would be the book. So everything that you read in the play and everything that you read in the book was 100% like stuff that happened. But then when I had to move into making the movie, or putting it to film, I learned a lot about screenwriting. I learned a lot about directing and understanding it as a visual medium. So you had to capture what visually would work the best, right? So her in front of those buildings, I was able to start it with 301 Sutter Avenue between Rockaway and Mother Gaston, because guess what? I started it with this little girl talking this, what seemed like a spoken word into like, what seemed like she was talking into the camera. In front of and behind her was the buildings that I actually grew up in.
Yeah.
So this was the visual that I was able to marry with that. But other things that happened to me, like the time that I got beaten up, that sent me to Puerto Rico. So I was beaten up. I actually won tickets at a Run DMC, from a radio station for a Run DMC concert at Madison Square Garden. And I went there. And when the lights went down, when they first started performing, like first song, the lights went down, I was literally snatched down on the floor, being beaten by many, many people. And I still have scars on my face from it. Like, you can't see it with this great zoom. but anyway, that's the beatdown that led me to have to go to Puerto Rico. But obviously, in a film, I could not recreate Madison Square Garden. I certainly could not afford any music from Run DMC.
Right, yeah.
Play them. But in the movie, the action is there where she gets beaten up and sent to Puerto Rico, and the emotional truth is there. So we see her being, having a fight with some bullies, which also happened to me when I was a kid.
Right.
And then her mother sends her to Puerto Rico because she's literally disfigured and afraid that she's going to get into more trouble. And then when she's in Puerto Rico, her cousin does talk about being a Run DMC fan, and that's something that they have in common. And so all of the emotional truth of all of that leans into the movie with what I was able to actually film.
100%, because
all exists, but differently.
Yeah, and you have to.
Now I really want you to see the movie, because now that you've read the book, it's different, but it feels the same.
Correct. Yeah, and there's an art to that, right? Because you have to really look at the body of work and analyze it for what are the essential pieces that really strike emotional chords that are going to be essential as we adapt to this other medium.
Yeah, and what's also going to be too strong and lead us away from what the story is that we're trying to tell. So there's a very big scene in the play and in the book that is a true story. I was 12 years old, and I was on my way to a train station, and there was an attempted rape.
Yeah.
And we walked for blocks and blocks, and that was a very big part of the play, and a very big part of my life and survival. And the fact that I was able to beat that guy off was huge. It was such a big win for me. But I couldn't put that in the movie because it would have swallowed up the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I had other things that happened in the movie that were grave
Yeah.
and could have led to her complete demise. So I just posed it differently.
Yeah, 100%. One of the other things that strikes me and resonates very deeply with me about this story is your relationship with your father. I have an 18-year-old daughter, and there is no, and additionally, my father made his transition last August, so this is like it hits me on a couple of different levels. But one of the things that I've learned in being a son, in becoming a father, is that there is no parent-child dynamic that is void of its complexities, you know. And while the details might be different, the synergies and the parallels are the same. So I'm curious, because I often wonder about this as a father. You know, your father gave you an opportunity when you were with him in Puerto Rico. Hey, do you have any questions for me? And you chose to ask something that wasn't too heavy. So I'm curious about if you ever had the opportunity to ask some of the more hard-hitting questions that were relevant to your dynamic, your specific dynamic with him.
You know, a lot in the film is communicated through music. Matt is a singer. You heard it a little bit in the book where if you heard it on Audible, you certainly heard it in the play where he sang songs.
Right.
But in the movie, you really, really get a chance to hear him singing, and it's the original songs of Edwin Vasquez that I'm so happy to have in my film, to highlight his work and the nature of who he is as a human, which was a lot of like what my father was. So a lot of it is unspoken emotions that are being seen. And I think the movie really delivers that without those hard-hitting questions that we know. But I did have a conversation with my dad when I found out that he was dying. And but it was mostly just like the conversation that is in the movie. That is actually more like real life, because I was able to really tell him how much I love him, and he was able to tell me how much he loved me, and he would always be with me, and all of these beautiful things that I think anybody who loses someone in their life, if they haven't had the opportunity to say it, they know that that's how they felt.
Right.
And they know that's how the person passing felt.
Right.
And he says to Elaine in the movie, I will always be with you. You know, I promise you I'll always be with you. And I have always felt that he is with me. And I think that in the movie is so beautiful and profound. You don't need to ask those questions because it's almost like it doesn't matter the answers.
Yeah.
Are where we are.
Yeah.
We just need to accept where we are.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because not only does it, for the body of work, leave it open and fluid for the audience to take those hugely important takeaways and apply them to their own circumstance, but it also, for you as the artist who is pouring her life story into this body of work, understand the fact that and it's communicated too, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Your father is still had such an appreciation for the life that he lived, right? It doesn't matter what anybody's going to think about me.
That's right.
You know, that none of that stuff matters, especially when it comes time for you to cross over. So
Well, at the end of the movie, ironically, I put a picture of him. In my house, we had the Puerto Rican flag painted on our
that's
wall.
right. That's right.
And then he's holding maracas. And then I put, you know, in loving memory of, and I put the dates. And then after that, it says, I made it mean something.
Yeah.
You know, I gave his journey impactful value to others and to me. You know, I made it actually mean something to the community that might need that. And so many people who come to the movie, they say, that's my story. that's my story. I'm like, how could this be so many people's story? I always felt so alone.
Yeah.
That it's so many people's story. And even there was a woman that came yesterday that was an influencer that did an interview with me afterward. And she said, oh, my boyfriend's here with me. He's Boricua from Brooklyn. He's really going to relate. And then she was not. And she was like, oh my God, it felt just like my story. And she wasn't even Boricua. She wasn't from Brooklyn. She was from another country. And she just felt the love.
Yeah.
You know, it's what we have in common that matters, not what divides us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things that I find interesting about this story is how it touches upon the Boricua diaspora, right? Like you have this moment where you're of course frustrated as you're heading to PR, and you talk about jibaros and you know, in this voice where you're just like, ugh, you know, and then you get there, they're also receiving you awkwardly, right? What do you think this film says about how Puerto Ricans from the motherland view Nuyorican and vice versa?
I think it's important that this is an urban American Latina story.
Right.
She's actually a fish out of water in both places, both in where she lives, which is a predominantly Black neighborhood, and in Puerto Rico, where her roots are, but she doesn't feel very close to them because she hasn't been there and lived it. And I think this is a true journey to her getting to love herself and all the parts that make her who she is, including her Puerto Ricanness, including her New Yorkness, all of these things. And oh Lord, it's just so important that this, you know, when you're writing a story, when you're making a story, what's important is that you bring them here to show them here, to show them here. You can't have the impact if everything stays here. You
Correct.
have to go here and there.
Yeah, it's part of the character arc, right?
Yeah, now you're jogging my memory in the book. You know, I say, there was these two women and they were like between her. Visually, I was trying to give you that visual thing.
Yeah.
There's two women between her on an airplane that were passing Acapulco, and she was like, oh my God, it's disgusting. Meanwhile, Acapulco is my favorite food, right?
Yep.
But the character had to feel that in order for her later to have this enormous love, for that transition to happen. So, you know, the same thing in the movie, the same thing in the play, she had to have had her father on such a pedestal, the fall to feel as strong as it needed to be, and then for the rise to be as strong as it needed to be. So, you know, I think about it as a writer, and those are the things that I'm trying to have happen, because I want to stir those feelings in the audience, and especially the audience members who actually feel that way, so that they can know that they can climb out of that.
Right.
And that's where I wanted to put it.
Yeah. Do you think that your shooting the film both in Brownsville, Brooklyn, as well as your father's hometown in Puerto Rico added to that?
Absolutely. The authenticity of being able to shoot in Brownsville, Brooklyn, you know, as filmmakers, we're always also thinking not just, you know, what can I give it artistically that people, that can lend to the authenticity of the people working on it as well, that they actually are there seeing it and bringing myself to those places all over again, but also share with the broader audience what it was really like. How can you do it if you're not actually there? Yes, there are ways, but this is the easy way. The easy way is actually going there and doing it. And when we went to Puerto Rico, I remember my Puerto Rico crew, I had to recrew in Puerto Rico because I couldn't afford to bring my crew. I could only afford to bring my cinematographer and 2 actors and 1 producer and myself. And we shared rooms. But my Puerto Rican crew, we were shooting in Cataño, and they said, why Cataño? Like, there's so many beautiful places in Puerto Rico. We could bring you all the color, all the beauty. And I said, well, it's where my father was from. So it is where I came to Cataño, to Juanamatos, to the little caseríos there.
Yeah.
But also a girl coming from Brooklyn who sees Cataño sees it as so beautiful. And you can't appreciate it, but she can.
Right.
You know, in the same way that I can appreciate the people in Brownsville and see them as so beautiful. And, in the book, I remember I talk about, this girl, this beautiful Black Dee Dee Marshall, I think. I mean, I know that was her real name, and she was always the best in the spelling bees, and just her beauty, and to wish that I looked like that, and to wish that I could dance like them, like this, and be a part of them, and not feeling that I was good enough to be a part of them.
Yeah.
So all of those things really mattered. And I remember in the play, when I was first doing the play, and there's a scene where Papi's playing this salsa records all day long. And then I would say, we live in Brownsville, I want to be Black. And the entire audience would burst out into laughter. And the first time that I heard that laughter, I was like, wow, that's funny? I didn't think that was funny. I just thought that was true.
Yeah.
That's just how I felt. So over the years, the audience has taught me a lot of, the things that are so different and funny and harsh. And, I had people reach out to me to say, oh, you shouldn't be talking about the people eating alcapurrias because they were overweight. And I'm like, I didn't think about that at all. That didn't cross my mind. And the other day, we had some of my actors were at a talk back, and two of them were like, we have so many plus size actors in this film. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. Like, I just hired the best actors. I didn't say, oh, I want a plus size.
Right.
I want this, I want that. It wasn't even in my scope of thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about the representation of a plus size actor. I just wanted the best actor for the film, and somebody who felt real to the character that I knew in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And you did a wonderful job of that.
Thank you.
So you are currently in New York, but you are preparing to head back to Puerto Rico next week for more screenings.
That's right. October 9th, we open in Puerto Rico. And, we know the story as Brownsville Bred, but they told us, like, the name Brownsville Bred, we can't really, the translation won't be so great. So I actually had to come up with something new. And I was like, Brooklyn Boricua. Because that is going to still be in English, that people understand it. But also, it's so true to the story, and it still has the BB alliteration.
Yes.
It fits beautifully on the poster.
Yes. Yes,
It'll be
100%.
called Brooklyn Boricua.
It's still BB, I love the fact that the alliteration is there. And I think even for the audiences in the States, some might hear that and be like, ooh, that sounds cold, like that sounds really dope,
I thought so too. After I came up with it, I was like, oh, this should have been the title. But then someone else said to me, no, I love Brownsville Bred so much.
Yes, yes.
It's so different. They're like, Brownsville, is that a real place?
Right.
And I was like, there's actually Brownsville, Brooklyn, Brownsville, Texas, there's Brownsville, Florida. And the idea is that even if it was a fictional place, there is a Brownsville in every part of the world, what it represents.
Yes.
At-risk communities where most people are living below the poverty line, and they have to live this beautiful struggle and see their neighborhood. They're just living it in everyday life. They're not thinking it, oh, it's so, so this or that.
Yeah.
They're just living it, and that's just their community. And that's what I wanted to show a lot.
Well, I'm very excited for that. And yeah, I hope that the reception is just as great over there as it's been over here. Gosh, I need to see this film.
I think that they will be very proud and relate to their brothers and sisters in living in the U.S.
Absolutely.
And I think the other way around. So many people come out of there and they're like, I was proud before, but I'm even more proud now.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk a little bit about hip hop. All right, I got my Body by Nature shirt on today. Okay,
I forgot this part.
And I'm very, very curious. When did hip hop become a thing for you? Coming out of a household, heavy salsa influence, but surrounded by hip hop, right? You got the park jams going on, people with boom boxes outside, and somehow or another you end up with a book of rhymes. When did this begin?
One book. It was multiple books. It was all I did all day. I just used to write rhymes, and I would look out of my window and write about the people that I was seeing out there and the people across and people from my school. And they were all like poems, but rhymes, poems that were raps. And I thought for sure I was going to be a rap star. Like that was my goal in life. And I remember I used to run down the stairs every morning, and every day I would create a new rap. And every morning I would call my friend and my best friend from the intercom.
Yeah.
I would go downstairs and dial her intercom 3 digits, and I would say, "You got to hear this new rap," whatever I would say. And she would just patiently listen until she just said, "When are you going to stop doing this, Elaine? Like, you got to stop. You're a baby." And she was older than me. You know, I was like 12 and she was like 15, 16, 17. So she was evolving into a different layer. She no longer wanted to hear my babyish dreams of being a rapper. But that's what actually made me stop doing it. I was crushed by that. But what made me start it was I loved hip hop. I loved music. LL Cool J, Run DMC, with the Beastie Boys, all these people when I was growing up, and I would, know all of Eric B, I would just be singing their raps all the time. It was always that I was just learning everything. Roxanne. Now you see all these things being redone. I'm like, I would have made that movie better. 'Cause I love Roxanne.
Not only redone, but also, I mean, you mentioned LL Cool J. He just dropped a new album. I feel like there's a shift taking place because we see a lot of the OGs still making new music. Sort of the transfer of knowledge and information between the younger generation we seem to be bridging a gap, right? Because I think that it's my opinion that we see the ways in which hip hop has gone astray from what it started as.
When you say astray, do you mean like the explicit?
Yeah, the Money Cash Holes, sort of that became a pillar in terms of the content. And I feel like there's sort of a renaissance. We're in a renaissance period, a return to the original of sorts. But I'm also very, very curious and interested about the origins of hip hop, especially as it relates to the Black and Latino community. You coming up in Brownsville, predominantly Black neighborhood. We could get into how New York City itself is its own nationality. But it seems like we've kind of the divide and conquer tactics have sort of taken over, right? There's this, even though hip hop's 52 years old at this point, the debate about who started it seems to keep resurfacing, which is nonsense because it's an old debate, and I feel that it's just really divide and conquer doing what it does, right? Because it's like we don't even need our colonizers' help anymore. It's like we're doing it to each other.
That's right, we are. I'm trying not to be that one.
Yeah. What's your take on this, about how we can correct this, especially coming up in Brownsville?
Well, first, let me just set the story straight. Rapper's Delight. Rapper's Delight, for me, was what started it all, right? And I think that's what started it for everybody. If I go today to a party of like people in their 50s and 60s, and they play Rapper's Delight, no matter where they're from, white, black, yellow, everybody knows every single word from Rapper's Delight, and they're so proud to know it. So for me, Planet Rock, Rapper's Delight, all those things, Africa Bombata, like all those things were like the origin. In terms of us tearing one another down, it is the story of like the life. I don't want to say my life, but I'll be perfectly candid with you. A very big influencer put out one of our clips recently that went viral in like a minute. And it was the movie clip where Papi was telling his little daughter about the Puerto Rican flag and what it meant, because he was trying to teach her. And we got like 100,000 hits in a day already. And not bought. This was just real.
Yeah, all organic.
And that's kind of hard to do. So many people were feeling like so proud. Oh my God, so proud, so proud. And then you had people saying, that's not the real meaning of the flag. It means this, it means that, it means that. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe that they're, and I keep answering them like, look, this is the memory of a child and her dad who loved Puerto Rico so much, who painted the Puerto Rican flag on the wall, that was telling her the red is for the Taino Indians, the white is for the colonizers, the blue is for the Africanos that the colonizers brought with them and they were sad. And that, to me, he was teaching her slavery. He was teaching her hope. He was teaching her history. And he said that the star was all of us rolled into one. He was teaching her that we needed to accept all these parts of who we are in order to love all the parts of who we are. And that was not about the true history.
Right. This isn't a documentary.
It's not a documentary. Yeah. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
And it hurts my heart that someone would think that I'm trying to hurt the real meaning of the flag in Puerto Rico. I even have people saying that's not the real color of the blue. And I'm like, wow, that's outstanding, because if I look at my pictures as a child, and I posted one yesterday of, the flag on my entire wall, and that was the blue on my wall.
Right.
And when we got to Puerto Rico, we do see the real flag of Puerto Rico and the exact color blue that it is, and why. And on the poster, it's reflected that way. But it's just, it's exhausting.
It really is.
That people would go out of their way to try to hurt a story that's actually trying to help us.
Right. Yeah.
And that, when you talk about tearing each other down, because I'm there in that space right now and my heart is hurting from that, I'm telling you that. But there's so many ways that it always happens.
Yeah.
So I try not to be that person. I don't say names if I talk about things that happen to me, or people that promise things, or people that like disappointed or hurt like the opportunity that others would have, and then they judge us because that person was Latino.
Yeah.
I don't mention names. I'm not trying to shade anybody.
Yeah.
We all just need to work together on this.
Let's pivot over into business. You've had your production company since 1998, right?
Yes.
At what point did you see your career growing from the arts to now, okay, I need to start an enterprise of my own?
Well, first, I started it as a business because my accountant said you should have a business. You should put everything in your business name.
That makes sense.
And then my husband, who wasn't my husband at the time, I asked him, like, what should my name be? Like, should it be like, like Latini, Latina, like this, like that? It was like, you must use your own name. You must use your own name, Del Valle. So I just made it Del Valle Productions, Inc., and it has been around since 1998. And over the years, I felt the need to write. I remember now I'm really thinking back, I even forgot about this. The first thing I think that I ever wrote to produce was a pilot, like an idea that I had called Traces, about a detective agency. And I filmed it and I hired people to film it, but they were terrible at what they did.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh no, that was terrible. But so that's when I started like producing my own content. So, but I learned a lot over the years, and over the years, every business venture that I went into, I was like, okay, this is a Del Valle production thing. And over the years, I have produced so many things now, so many other people's work, so many things that I've written. It's always been under the banner of Del Valle Productions, Inc. And even after, if I make something else, it's always like, now it's Del Valle Productions, Inc. is the parent company of everything. And now I have a casting agency where I cast actors for other people. I've been doing that for over a decade now, and it's like a very successful business. I have regular clients, new clients all the time. I cast for a show called Alma's Way, which is a PBS Kids animated series that we are in our 3rd season already. Yeah, and I do a lot of commercials, and I've done short films and features, and pretty much, I love the work. It keeps me immersed, knowledgeable in all of the talent that's out there available, and working with agents and managers that trust and respect me.
Yeah.
And it's all under Del Valle Productions Inc. that I say also known as Del Valle Casting. So it's just another division of my production company.
Being so multi hyphenated, talented, bringing all of these skill sets to something like this probably empowered you to go far with your business venture, right? Because even when it comes to like casting, right? It's just when you look at it from a business perspective, it's like, let's create as many revenue streams as possible for the business, right? But that just speaks to how multi-talented you are. What would you say is like a good piece of advice for someone just getting started out who may be of a different mindset? Because some folks look at someone as multifaceted as you, and like even when you were younger with the rap, like, hey, when are you gonna let this go? Like focus on something else. Focus on one thing, right? Rather than digging into your entire toolbox.
Yeah, people would say, what is that saying? Jack of all
Jack
trades,
of many trade, master of none. Yeah.
master of none. Right? But I don't feel like it has to be that way.
Right.
So I happen to be good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Most creators and artists, like that's where they want to stay and lay into and lean into. And I do want to do that. Like when I'm directing, I'm entirely of the director mindset. But usually when I'm directing something that I've written, it's because I've had to produce it in order for it to even be in production.
Right.
So I've had to learn all of those things and understand the business of it. So many creatives these days, they come to me with these amazing ideas, beautiful ideas, passionate ideas. And when they bring them to me, all I could think about, well, they're not thinking about the union contracts, how they're going to get these agents, where we're going to get the locations. They want an animal involved. We're going to have to do this to get that. If we need, so I'm thinking about all the things that it takes to make this.
Yeah.
And I think that where that puts me is actually at a very good place because I understand what's possible, what's probable. And when I jump into things, I actually jump into it actually knowing what I'm getting myself into.
Right. And what's achievable.
Not just this
right?
dream of like, oh, I'm going to make this happen. I'm sorry, what was that? Not what?
And what's achievable too, right?
And what's achievable, yeah.
You have to make sure that you're checking all the boxes.
Yeah. So I feel very great when I'm doing any one thing. Like when I get to act, actually, I just booked a role in a movie and I'm going to do it on Friday. So I'm like learning my lines and like, I'm just going to focus on that. I'm just going to be there to serve the story, serve the actors that I'm opposite of. And I know that that's my job for that. And that's what I'm focused on. When I'm casting, when my client gives me the people, they describe what I need to find, I'm hyper focused on finding that. And I'll often put into the mix other people as well that I think might be right for it. But first, my goal is to achieve that goal, that one that is put in front of me and get that done before I can do anything else. And then, perfect example, when I was booked on the show Queens for ABC. Right? And I had a recurring guest star. It was amazing, wonderful. They flew me out to Georgia, a lot of lines, and I nailed them. And when I was done, like with my biggest scenes with all the lines, I went to the producing director, Crystal Roberson, and I said to her, I'm here. I'm in Georgia. I don't have anything else to do but be here for this project. Obviously, I'm not working the next few days. There's not enough time for me to go home. Can I please shadow you? Shadow this experience. And I only asked after I had done the biggest parts of my work so that they knew like I am there for the work. Right. But if I'm there, why can't I not learn from this experience if that's what I want to move toward? And it was a wonderful experience doing that. And we became friends and she ended up seeing my film. She actually just came to watch my film in the theater with her husband and they loved it. And she was like, oh, it's in Georgia too? It was in Georgia last week. She said, I want to, create the opportunity to give away tickets. Yeah. Because she believed in it. Yeah. So you see, it's like, Jack of all trades, master of none. No, papi, you can't think that way. Yeah. You cannot do everything at once. I do everything one thing at a time. When I'm producing and prep, I'm thinking all about that. When I'm getting my shot list ready, I'm dealing with my cinematographer, dealing with that. When I'm working with my actors, I don't even want to be asked what time is lunch, even though I'm the one who created the what time is lunch. Like, I do not want to get out of the creative mindset. So
Right.
focus on what it is that you're doing
Yeah.
to get it accomplished, but one thing at a time. And I think that's the route to success. And you have to have these different revenue streams coming in so that you can do all of these things. There's
Correct.
a phenomenal book. It's called Transitions. It's by a director named Pete Chapman, and he's a very successful director for television. And I know he's working on an independent movie himself now, a feature film. And it talks about having all these parallel tracks, but that they all should be aiming in the same direction. So what
Yes.
you say yes to in your life, there's an economic reality that you have to say yes to in order for you to continue to eat,
Yeah.
But you can lean into those things that serve your purpose as well, that serve your goal. That's what I try to, when I say yes to something, and it's very difficult for me to say yes to anything, because when I say yes, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
So I say yes, I realize what it's going to take out of me and take away from other things.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to understand. What's it going to take away from? Or how can I make this work to benefit my ultimate goal? And you've got to think about those tentacles, just like the relationships that you build, the connections. You have to be so
Yes.
resourceful to produce things.
Yes.
And that's not about knowing the right way to approach this one and that one. That's like, how can I just get there?
Yeah.
And that's usually a lot simpler if you cut out the middleman.
Right. Right.
And that's what I've been able to do.
Yeah, I think that that's not just a blueprint for success, but also a recipe for longevity, right? Because with new creators who are coming into this space, the barrier for entry is so low that people operate under this misguided perception that, oh, I'm going to start a podcast or, I'm going to go viral online and then that's it. And it's like, no, there's a lot of work. There's levels and there's work that needs to be put in.
Yes, even those people that are doing all this viral content, like that's talent.
Yeah.
They're working their talent. They're thinking about it.
Right.
And it may not be something that you think that they're thinking about. Not that that doesn't happen, but these people are working toward. I think about this one particular young lady. Her name is Jazzy. And she's a major influencer, millions of followers, right? And she's this little girl that I met years ago, and I gave her, like, I put her in something.
Yeah.
And she was amazing. She was like, I loved her so much. Anyway, long story short, now she's this tremendous influencer, and she's traveling from place to place to place, Texas, California. And she's a reporter now. She's a child reporter on the red carpet with the most famous people. And you think that happens by accident? No.
Yeah.
That's work, not just by her, but by her dad, her stepdad, who I know is a big influence in her life. And, I think about that. It really takes a lot of work. People think they're going to put the podcast together. That takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
What's going to be your subjects? I want to do a podcast too. What's going to be my subject that can continue?
Correct. 100%. What does your relationship with technology look like? How has it evolved over the years? We see directors like Ryan Coogler and what he did with Sinners and the way that he shot it specifically for, this certain IMAX that was like a limited run. How has technology played a role in not just your creativity, but the business as well?
So much so. I am a techie. I love technology. I love everything new. I'm a geek when it comes to cameras, understanding stuff.
Yeah.
But we say stay in our lane. I'm in my lane with that when it comes to like my cinematographer. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
And I look to him like, tell me what's up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I depend on that expertise and the fact that he is guiding it entirely that way. But you mentioned the technology. Yeah, we can all make films. I once made a film in a 48-hour challenge. Someone saw it from Mar Vista and they hired me to direct the feature film for Tubi.
Boom.
And I did it in 48-hour challenge, like that's huge.
Yeah.
So being able to move quickly, roll with the punches, this Brownsville Bred, the movie, has been a groundswell. People telling people through social media.
Yeah.
And I talk to my audience and I say to them, we are all micro influencers. We influence those people around us, our mothers, our fathers, our daughters, our brothers, our co-workers. We have the ability to influence them with what our opinion is.
Right.
So we need to understand that and then put that out there like that. So that's another, techie way of maneuvering the business, being on LinkedIn, making sure that, those profiles lean into the business aspect of me, or,
Correct.
What my brand is as a Latina, which I'm still figuring it out in a way, right? Because I'm not thinking about, what's my brand?
Yes.
I actually found my brand from looking at my own work and seeing what the through line is. And a lot of the time, that's about having, leading with a Latina female or a Latina story, or that's about family and love and being united. Sometimes that's about the haves and the have-nots. All my experiences are actually my brand. Being Boricua, being Puerto Rican, being proud of that, learning to be proud of that, which was a journey.
Yeah.
And so someone said to me, a marketing person was at the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival. She saw my film and she said, Elaine, what's your brand? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, your brand is Bad Bunny. I was like, my brand is Bad Bunny. That's what I'm talking about. She said, your brand is exactly the brand of Bad Bunny. Like everything that he stands for and represents, that's what you stand for and you represent.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's really interesting. I never even thought about that. So, I'm still learning, but technology is teaching me a lot of what I have to learn, being able to access the learning tools that we need, whether that be online classes. I took a lot of online classes through the Sundance Lab. It was all online. It's called the Sundance Collab.
Yeah.
And I learned how to write scripts that way and more about directing. And I learned from others, and I learned how to write a pilot. And I sold the pilot to CBS. That's like an impossible feat. I didn't know anybody. And somehow, some way, I sold an original pilot that they let me write.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like a television writer. They paid me to write my own script. That's incredible. I would not have known how to even begin to write a script if I didn't learn it through the online classes that are available, to the books that I've read.
100%.
We have the ability these days to educate ourselves
100%.
so much.
There's community in that too, right? Because, to your point about the micro influencers, that's really essentially what community looks like in a digital landscape. It's creating that digital word of mouth, where before we didn't have a vehicle to drive that. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. All right. I know you got to get out of here soon. So let's just ask a couple of more questions before we get you up out of here.
Okay.
It's often said that you can take the girl out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the girl. And one of the things that your mother said is like, you leave Brownsville long enough, you forget to keep an eye out about what's ahead. Does that saying still ring true? Are you like on the lookout in any room you step into, in any environment that you're in, whether it be personal or professional?
On the lookout in a different way.
In a different way.
I'm not, certainly when I'm in certain areas, or even when I'm not in certain areas, I am always aware. Situational awareness, they call it, right? I want to know what's around me, what's happening. But in a way, that makes you also a very emotionally responsible and responsive person. Like you have the ability to connect with people and read the room fairly quickly. And now in these days, in the rooms that I'm in, I'm not watching my back like I was in Brownsville, but I'm just seeing people, understanding them, trying to get to know them, seeing how we can collaborate effectively how two people can create synergy together, because that's what it's all about. 1+1 doesn't have to equal 2, it can equal 5 if it's the right synergy. And so I'm always looking for that. I just think that I'm wired that way. And that is probably because of growing up in a place where there were 3,000 people living on my city block. And I knew all of them, and I respected them, and I loved them. And I just knew their stories and respected that everyone had one.
Do you still enjoy the smell of baked bread in the oven?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you still using parquet? You still putting parquet on it though? No more parquet, right?
No more parquet on it. But my dad used to spread the parquet and then put it on the bollo de pan and put it in the oven. And, when you're writing a book, you have to make all these sensory things happen for the audience so that you put them in there, so that they see what you're talking about, they smell it, they feel it. The scent of downy and ivory and all those things, they still bring me back to like this beautiful apartment that we had. That was, every other apartment was pretty much roach infested everywhere, but our apartment had very little roaches. Like it was so clean, and that's a tribute to my mom and making sure that we cleaned everything, and that gave me a sense of pride to smell the laundry hanging on the rope like that, and smell how clean it is, and make me feel good about, even if it was I remember I only had a few things to wear in the summertime, and I used to iron them because I wanted to make them feel so clean and crisp and fresh and new. I even used to iron my socks. Like I just wanted to feel like I had something.
Yeah.
So it gave me, growing up the way that I did, gave me a great sense of appreciation and the ability to connect.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. During a very engaged session of Next Car, you got the black limo.
Yes.
When you step into nice black cars these days, do you feel a sense of pride?
Not so much anymore, honestly. Like, I'll tell you that my husband, he loves to get, when we get Ubers, like he loves to get like the big black van, the big black SUV.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're only going a few blocks. Like, I'll save the money. Like, I don't need that big black SUV to take me anywhere. Yeah. And these days, honestly, I could probably drive any kind of car that I want, pretty much. But I really just want this small little car that's going to be easy to park, easy to get in and out of. That's not going to bring too much attention to me, but that's going to make me still feel good about when I come out of it, So I'm not thinking about all that anymore, the way that I used to dream of it in Brownsville. I'm living my dreams now.
That's it.
And I do think that you have to dream that big to actually get anywhere. Like you aim up here.
Dream loud.
Edward James Olmos said to me, "You're going to win an Oscar. You're going to win an Oscar for best direction. It's going to be best song, best acting, best movie." And I was like, dude, I just want to be eligible for a freaking John Cassavetes award from the Independent Spirit. Like,
there you go.
Was my ultimate. And he's like, no. So anyway, that was the day that he saw our thing.
Dream bigger and dream louder.
It was unbelievable. Amazing. And then the next day, there was the awards, and I actually had helped to produce a pilot called Born to Lose by another Latino director, amazing Carlos Cardona. It's a pilot, super funny, amazing, and fresh. And it also won. It won an award at La Leaf. And when I came up to help accept the award with the producer, everybody was shocked that I was actually a part of it as well. But anyway, I spoke about it, and then after the award ceremony, the director and the producer and I were there, and I was there, and Edward James Olmos was making a beeline for us, and specifically to him. And I was like, oh man, Edward James Olmos he probably forgot about me. Like he's just thinking about this dude that just won the best pilot. And he literally went up to him and shook his hand like that. And he said to him, "This woman's gonna win an Oscar." Yes,
let's go.
He didn't forget me.
No, not at all. That's such an amazing story. Oh my gosh, I love that for you, and I believe it. I believe that you will do that because you are unapologetically unafraid to dream bigger and to dream louder. So, last question, I'm gonna let you go. Using one word only, what does community mean to you?
Community, hospitality.
Mm,
Hospitality. You want to let someone into your community? Venga. Come on in. Be a part of us. Get to know us. Hospitality is in my DNA.
yes.
That's what community is to me.
Elaine Del Valle, I have superheroes who I respect and admire and look up to greatly. John Leguizamo, Ida Rodriguez, and I feel like I just found a new one today. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being unafraid, for
Thank you very much.
for not hesitating, not stopping, dreaming in the way you do. It's such an inspiration, and you are officially, as of today, a superhero of mine. So
Ida Rodriguez came to see my movie.
I'm sure she did,
And
man.
she loved it. And she
Yeah.
said, how can we help? How can I amplify?
Yes.
So thank
Yes.
you for saying that. And John, I just saw the other Americans writing, presenting.
Good, John.
My homegirl Rosa Redondo is in it.
Mhm.
Lorna Ventura choreographed it. Latino cast, Latino director. Go see it down at the Public. Watch Brownsville Bred. Follow me at Brownsville Bred, at Elaine Del Valle director, and tell people.
Yes, please spread the word. Brownsville Bred is in theaters right now. Find it, look out for it, keep track of it, because this rocket ship has just took off.
Yeah, and when it's not in
started.
theaters anymore, it's going to be on platforms. You'll be able to rent it, buy it, stream it, hopefully one day. And, yeah, we're working on it, but I appreciate your time. I thank you so much.
Likewise. It's been an absolute pleasure. Elaine Del Valle, Beats, Rhymes y Comunidad. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right.